Here's another exciting edition of Sports Talk here on Atlantic Television Network. On this edition of the program, all is set for the President Beach Volleyball Cup. And coming in from the world of tennis, Matteo Berrettini wins his first ATP title in 2 years. From the world of football, it is Arsenal pushing strong for the Premier League title in England. This is of these and many more with yours when we return from the break. Talk here on Atlantic Television Network. It's a new weekend, of course. We're here to bring you up to speed with the latest happening around the world of sport, especially at the weekend that we saw very busy action. And I'm sure I didn't see that alone. Mike did see it as well. Mike?
Yeah, good morning, sir, and good morning to our viewers out there. It was a very, very wonderful weekend, full of a lot of sporting activities out there.
Well, we'll get started first from Athletics, where Nigerian sprinter and, of course, Tokyo 2020 Olympic 100 meters finalist Enoch Adekuku looks to return to the Nigerian team that is heading to Paris for the 2024 Olympic Games after a season best of 10.20 seconds at the Athletics Championship held at Ibadan at the weekend. This is the way to go for Adekuku. Definitely, this is the way to go for Adekuku. At this point in time where we are preparing for the, Paris Olympic, I think we need most of our athletes to be, in high shape, to be on the top of, their form out there, so that we can be able to go out there and not just to go and make a number, but to also go out there and make a statement, to the world. We've come a long way. I think for me, it is a good one that this kind of competition is coming at a time where we are preparing for a major tournament. It will help to keep the players in, the athletes in shape. It also help to have that competitiveness among the best that we have out there. So for me, I think it's a welcome development. Welcome development. Adekuku put in 10.20 seconds. That is his best in the last 2 years. And of course, going to get better from what we saw of him in Ghana during the African Games. Meanwhile, Favor Ashe, one of our own best, produced her best time as well, 9.90 seconds. This is good. She was national champion, and of course, African Games silver medalist at the last game. We saw Rishi Shekiri and, of course, Ekanem equally doing what looks like a good prospect for Nigeria ahead of the African Games, ahead of the Olympic Games. Definitely, you see most of our athletes doing pretty well in this, competition out there. I think for me, like I said earlier, it's a very, very nice one, and it's coming very timely where we are preparing for the Olympic. The likes of Ashe, the likes of Ekanem, who is the new sensation, the new kid on the block, Enoch Adekuku as well, doing pretty well. I think for me, it's a plus for the preparation of our team, because some of this tournament is being used, by the athletes as a dress rehearsal towards waiting for the big one, which is the Olympics. So for me, I think generally it's a positive one for the Nigerian athletes. Well, positive one for Nigerian athletes. For the first time in the decades, now we're having a third Nigerian qualifier for the 100 meters event at the Olympic Games. You remember Davidson Ozenwa and, of course, Innocent Lakpade as well. We're now having a third Nigerian, Adekuku, that will be going to feature in the 100 meters event at the Olympic Games coming up in Paris. Let's stay away from Olympics now, and how Nigerian athletes are preparing, and bring you some latest coming from the world of beach volleyball. All is set for the 5th edition of the President Beach Volleyball Cup competition, built to hold from the 12th to the 21st of this month at the Ahmadu Bello Stadium in Kaduna. Beach volleyball, not very popular, but inroads are being made in beach volleyball here in Nigeria. Definitely not one of the popular sports here in the country, where you expect players to also keep pushing hard every year for any major tournament. But then, despite not being popular, I think it is also... The Nigerian women team did so well at the African Games. Yes, they did pretty well, went beyond, what we expected, before coming back. I think for me, it's a nice one. Seeing that, beach volleyball is actually, doing pretty well at this point in time, though not a popular sport you want to say here, but then these are some of the sports where teams like countries like Egypt get to amass a lot of medals when we get to
African games. And that is why Egypt, many times, they seem to be dominating when it has to do with the All-African game, because some of these relatively unknown sport that we don't pay much attention to, they also pay attention to it. And for me, it is a plus to them. Let's keep developing, let's keep working hard. Possibly one day we must definitely get there. So we want to say that it's a good one that we are seeing a sport that is not that popular here, making headway, preparing, one tournament or the other. As we keep growing, I tell you, in near future, definitely it become a major stage.
No doubt about it. We hope that Nigeria will continue to make inroads in beach volleyball. We saw it at the African Games where the women were good. We hope the men will take cue. And from what we are hearing, Ibadan will be good enough for us to see more of actions in beach volleyball and prepare towards the next African Games as well. Well, from Ibadan, let's quickly look at what's happening this time around on the golf course. Nigeria's current #1 golfer, Francis Ekpe, shot a brilliant 12 under par 60 to set the course record at the opening tournament of the Acropolis Gardens, and of course, Residence Golf Course in Okija, Anambra State. This is what we expect. We want to see competitions here and there, from where I hope the Golf Federation of Nigeria are keeping an eye on this tournament, aimed at pitting some of the best amateur golfers for the country.
I hope so. I hope so. I hope they are putting their nose on the ground to ensure that we continue to develop and continue to look out or search out for some of the best golfers in the country out there. Though golf, you may want to say, yes, it's not one of the popular sports as well, but then it is making waves here in the country. And of course, you saw the Ikoyi Golf Club, always organizing one competition or the other. We have a lot of talent out there coming in from the world of golf. Let's hope that we'll continue to develop, because this is what we want to see in our sport.
Well, out there in Okija, Anambra State, we saw 36 handicapper Nkechi Nwakolo with a 112 cross score. We won the ladies category with a net of 76, beating Rita Izoje with 2 strokes at the 78th net. Well, we saw Nkechi Musa Tolani picked the third prize, returning a 79 net score in 18 holes. It was an 82 golf course, whole golf course, and we hope who did Nigeria proud at the last African Games in Ghana. This is the kind of information we really do not want to hear. Provision should have been made long time before this time, and as the boxers return, their allowances and entitlements are paid.
For me, I think it is not a cheering news at all, because this is one thing we keep talking about over the years. When some of these sportmen...
This is more than 2 weeks after the African Games?
Yeah. When some of our sportmen and women go out there to fly the flag of the country very high, when they, for the All-African Game out there, they did us amassing total of 10 medals. I think for me it behoves on the authority to also ensure that the entitlement, camp allowances, and whatsoever is given to them as at when due, so that you also encourage them to do more. Because when you don't, pay them their allowances, then they'll be demoralized. Next time when they are called to duty, they wouldn't want to give out their 100% out there. But then I listened to the sport minister even before the competition was rounded off. He was talking for talk that they have already started preparing for the payment of the athletes out there, and this is 2 weeks plus. Right now we are still hearing complaints here and there, though the sport minister mentioned the fact that it was due to the Easter period and all of that. That is why they couldn't sort out. But then Easter have come and gone, yet they are still battling. Don't forget, some of these athletes, they have their own personal needs. They have families to cater for. They have things to do with a lot of money. And after going out there to represent the country, the best they should expect is to receive their entitlement as at when due. No need of coming to the media to keep crying about the fact that they have not. I think for me it's an embarrassment. I do not expect this under the regime of the sport minister, who since he came on board, I think he has been doing pretty well. I'm sure that he's going to listen to this outcry from some of these boxers and do something very fast to ensure that they come to their rescue. Something
has to be done very fast to ensure that those who have represented the country very well get their entitlements and emoluments at as when due. This is 2 weeks after the African Games. Boxers who earn gold, bronze, and silver for the country are yet to get their bonuses. This is really, really not too good, but we hope that everything is being done around the clock to ensuring that these boxers get their money. It's not only boxers. Information available to us has it that some other sports as well have not gotten their entitlement. So we hope everything will be done around the federation in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Sports and youth development, ensuring that this is sorted out quickly, because this is more than 2 weeks after the games, and these athletes have families to attend to as well. It's not every time you get to have the African Games or major sports meet. So this is the season for them, and they should enjoy it, so to say. Still talking about boxing reminds me that Anthony Joshua's promoter Eddie Hearn says he's confident that the British boxer and of course that is Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury's fight is expected to earn at least 100 million pounds each for the fighters. This is one of the highest pay day you want to hear in boxing.
Definitely
100 million pounds for each of the boxers. At least that's not definitely it will be 100 million plus.
Massive money out there. Of course you expect Tyson Fury, who is also very good when you talk about money. You say when you talk about money, big amount of money, definitely you want to take part out there. But then it looks as though we are still going to wait a little longer to be able to see that fight come to fruition, because Alexander Usyk will be locking horns in an undisputed bout between him and Tyson Fury, and possibly they might see a rematch, whosoever win in that very one. That will continue to delay the fight between Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury. I'm seeing possibly 2025 that is going to materialize, because we are also hearing that Joshua might possibly be taking on Dubious or Govich, after then, before he had to wait for Tyson Fury. So I think we are still going to wait a little bit, possibly 2025 before we see the fight becoming a reality. But for now, I think the money that is involved is a big one, which for me, I believe that Tyson Fury wouldn't want to take off his eyes from this very one, because he has been craving over the years that he wants to lock horns against Anthony Joshua. But then whenever he gets closer, he just find one excuse or the other to give and run away, because he's good at that. But this time around, this is a fight that he cannot run away between him and Alexander Usyk. So I think, like I said, we are going to wait a little bit, but then the money is a mouth-watering one.
Well, speculation, there are 100 million pounds and more, because when you add other emoluments to this one, definitely it will be far more than 100 million pounds for each of these boxers. Hopefully, like you said, 2025 looks like a likely date for these two fights to happen, but we already have a venue confirmed. Saudi Arabia has already confirmed that the kingdom will welcome these two boxers. Saudi Arabia is now beginning to do I look like, say, Mecca of sports generally. Beyond boxing, we've seen them look at Formula One. We've seen them host a lot of Formula One events, and even football events as well. Everybody seems to be going to Saudi Arabia for one hosting event, or the sports event or the other.
Yeah, Saudi Arabia has become the hub of sports right now, as they are trying to use sport as a way to project their image out there, because don't forget, their image has been battered because of their human rights violation over the years. So they want to use sport as a makeshift to also quell that battered image out there. So for me, I think it's a big one that Saudi Arabia is becoming a hub or sport. Though there are some persons also who are very critical about the way they are taking sport out there. Some call it sport wash and all of that, but then for me, I don't care, so long as they are sticking to the rules of the game. It doesn't matter, so long as they are pumping out the oil money. It doesn't matter. It's a benefit to some of the sportsmen and women, because last month some Chinese players as well also complained about that the WTA talked about taking it down there. Some people were very critical about that and all of that, but for me, I think sport development has come to stay in Saudi Arabia. The like you talked about, Grand Prix has been taken there. You talk about boxing, talk about football. They are doing pretty well in that angle. Tennis, they've also done, cycling as well. Here they want to also host, the cycling event, which for me I think is a big one. So I think Saudi Arabia is the place to go right now, because this is where the money is flowing. And of course, when you talk about sport, you cannot talk about sport without talking business aspect of which has to do with money, because what makes these sportmen and women do what they do, what makes them give out their best with passion, dedication, tenacity, is because of the money that comes with it. Without money, take away money from sport, I tell you, it's not going to be that exciting. So for me, I think Saudi Arabia has come a long way, and from what we are seeing, I think they will continue in this platform, because I think they've actually set down what they want to achieve, and according to them, they said in 2030, 2031, definitely they are going to reap the reward of what they are sowing right now.
Well, very interesting there, having a reward for what you are sowing right now as we speak. And I'm very sure that the kingdom, that's what it's called, definitely, whether you like it, like I mentioned out there, the other they are trying to launder their image or wash their image. The sports world is beginning to benefit from the petrodollars that comes from the Saudi Arabia there. Meanwhile, let's go to Formula One now. Talking about Formula One at this time reminds me that Max Verstappen returned to winning ways to head a resounding Red Bull 1-2 win at the Japanese Grand Prix that was hosted at the weekend. But there was an incident in that one involving Daniel Ricciardo and Alex Albon.
Yeah, I think for me that incident had to cause the race to be delayed for about 20 good minutes before they came back into the circuit. And apart from that delay, I think Max Verstappen is also back in the race, also back in the mix as well. He's also back in doing what he knows how to do best. The last setback he got, where he actually dropped on the track, was because of the brake issue and all of that, but I think they've been able to fix that right now, and he's back, his feet out there doing what he knows how to do best. I tell you, Max Verstappen, stand tall among the rest of the drivers out there. You cannot dispute what he has achieved for himself. If not for that brake failure, that setback, I tell you, you should have been 4 out of 4 races so far. But then, looking at what he has done, he want to also say that the issue of the internal wrangling, the controversy we are hearing in their camp and all of that, he has been able to put that to rest. He doesn't allow that to bother him. So he focuses on the circuit and he gives us his best. Looking at the point margin, at the speed, he definitely say, I don't think there is any driver that comes close to Max Verstappen, exception of his teammates, who also did a very good job for himself. Talking about Russell are there. But then one interesting thing is about Lewis Hamilton of the Mercedes finishing 9th. I think for me has been quite disappointing so far. I don't know what seems to be the problem.
I know what is the problem. It's simple. The engine is the problem. It's not about Max about Lewis Hamilton himself. It's the engine.
But his teammate as well always finishes ahead. Even in the first race, the second race, his teammate always finish high above him. So, and that is why I asked. I don't know what seems to be the problem. But then we know that the engine is the problem, and I'm sensing from the information that is being muted out there in the media that at the end of the season he might be even calling it a quit with the Mercedes.
No, that is no longer it's public knowledge. I think that is common now that Lewis Hamilton will be leaving any moment at the end of the season.
Yeah. So for me, I think it's a good one for Max Verstappen. Let's hope that other drivers can also, step up and give him a chase, give him a run for his money. Because
talking about giving a chase and run for his money, there is Sergio Perez, driver number 2 for the constructor.
Yeah, that is the person I was mentioning earlier. I said he did his best, but then his best wasn't good enough. Let's hope that in the next race he's going to practice more, possibly see if he can be able to dethrone Max Verstappen. But then it's going to be a very, very difficult call.
Japanese Grand Prix concluded at the weekend. Max Verstappen in the Red Bull, of course, is in the first position, followed by Sergio Perez, second driver for Red Bull. In third place position is Carlos Sainz, driver for Ferrari. Charles Leclerc, the second driver as well, is in the fourth place position. Norris for McLaren is fifth, and Fernando Alonso of Aston Martin is in the 6th place position. Earlier I told you that George Russell of Mercedes came 7th, Oscar Piastri of McLaren in the 8th position, then the big driver Lewis Hamilton in the 9th place position. Yuki Tsunoda is in the 10th place position. Well, let's stay away from Japanese Grand Prix and go to tennis, where Matteo Berrettini, an Italian, has won his first ATP title since the year 2022. He beat Roberto Caballeros Baena in straight sets to win a first title in almost 2 years. This is very unlike Matteo Berrettini, that should be coming up, but not winning any title in 2 years was one too many.
I think for me it's quite disappointing for his career out there. You know, it's one player that we know of his prowess. We know what he can be, we can bring to the table when it matters most. But then in the last couple of years, in the last 2 years, I think he has not been able to find that rhythm. He has not been able to find that mojo for himself. So coupled with the injury that he had some time ago, I think that has also affected his game out there. But then good to see him back on track again, doing what he knows how to do best. Let's hope that he's going to continue in this fashion going forward.
Well, let's talk about tennis. There we know that Daniela Collins has beaten Darren Kaskina to continue his final season form. Daniela Collins, reaching form, will be in her very first final season as she continued with a 6-2, 6-1 win at the Charleston Open.
Yeah, good one for her after making that big announcement that she will be quitting.
She was a winner at Miami last week.
Yeah. So for me, I think it's a big one. Maybe because of the fact that she want to drop the baton, she want to leave on a very high note. Winning the Miami Open and also winning this very one is a way to go. If you want to finish very high, I think this is the way to go. And I think for me, for Daniela Collins, she has done a good job so far. Let's hope that she can continue to keep up with this fine form, till the end of this season. Possibly she might get to clinch one or other 2 titles before the end of this season, and that will see him buying out of the the tennis world in a very high note.
Well, talking about Kaskina, the lady that she conquered, that she was a former champion as well at the Charleston.
Yeah, very good player as well. But then it wasn't just her day. I had to monitor proceedings in that very one. She was not, that player that we saw in the final some time ago. So for me, I think Daniela Collins was just too good for her, and that is why she was able to defeat her.
Daniela Collins doing very well there. She's hinted of retirement, and maybe she's beginning to pick up all the available titles that she can get before retiring. Miami, she was winner back-to-back now with Charleston Open. I think that's really very encouraging. She's just raking the points, not just the points, the money as well. Maybe that will take care of her while in retirement. And let's stay away from that and go to basketball. And interesting, Denver Nuggets are in upbeat mood because they posted their player Nikola Jokic posted a 25th triple-double to help his team beat Atlanta Hawks 142 to 110 points. And not as if winning was enough, this took them to the leading position as the #1 place team in the Western Conference.
Massive one for Denver Nuggets, especially that man,
Nikola Jokic.
Yeah, whenever he's very fit, he always carried it.
Jamal Murray was on showcase as well.
Yeah, after coming back from injury as well, he did pretty well because he went on an injury, but then he came back as well and also did a good job for himself. For Denver Nuggets, I just think their season has been very, very good. Though their lead was also blighted last 3 weeks, where they actually lost their game out there, but then they've regained the top spot in the Western Conference right now. I think for me it's a massive victory for them.
Denver Nuggets, #1 team at the Western Conference with just about 6 games or so to end the regular season. Meanwhile, talking about teams that are upbeat at the Western Conference, Los Angeles Lakers end their 9th win in 10 games as they beat Cleveland Cavaliers 116 to 97. Cavaliers not doing well this season at all.
At all. They are not just doing well at all. I don't know what seems to be their problem, but the truth remains that this is not the Cleveland Cavaliers that we used to know. But then you also give it to LA Lakers, who also did good as well. They are on a very good form right now. For the last 10 games, they've won 9 out of those 10 games. I think for me, LA Lakers, they are very, very good in form. If they continue this way, I tell you, they're going to be a force, and a team that is dreaded by others out there when they get to the playoffs after the regular season.
Still looking around for best basketball results for you. Joe Embiid has scored 30 points. Yes, 30 points to lead the Philadelphia 76ers to a 116 to 96 point victory over Memphis Grizzlies. Memphis Grizzlies short of 100 points there.
Short of 100 points, surprising. But then for Joe Embiid, I think as the MVP player of that last year, you continue to make the difference out there. Even if his team get to lose, you also see the difference what Joe Embiid brings to the table out there. And for me, I think his prowess, and his attacking intent as well have also helped his team to get the victory.
Well, talking about the prowess of Joe Embiid, the Cameroonian American, you will think that his long injury layoff is responsible for him putting only just 12 rebounds in 23 minutes on the court.
Yeah, I guess so. Because after an injury and you are coming back again, you need to trade with caution so that you don't get to aggravate the injury that you are just coming back from. And I think that is the reason why he was very, very cautious not to aggravate any other problem or injuries within him. So but then I think as he continued to gain full fitness, I believe that he's going to up in the way he's able to get some of the rebound out there.
Dallas Mavericks were winners over Houston Rockets. It ended 147 to 136 points. Houston Rockets finding it difficult to maintain momentum.
Yes, finding it very, very difficult to maintain momentum. They have been very, very inconsistent so far this season. But then I still see them, possibly getting something out of the 6th game that is remaining right now, because they show that, sign. It's just that whenever they try to match up with their opponent, it's always very, very difficult.
Look at Dunkirk, the man to remember in that fixture. I'm very sure that a lot of people will have gotten themselves out, especially in the fixture that saw them have some kind of rebeat there. Meanwhile, Anthony Davis was injured in the eye in the encounter. What do you make of Anthony Davis' injury in this fixture?
Very disappointing for his team out there, because this is the most critical time that you actually need some of your best players out there to be very, very fit, for the last lap of the NBA. But then getting this injury, I think, is a big setback for them out there. Let's hope that he's going to come back. We don't know the extent of the injury and how far he's going to stay away from the court, but then we just wish him well.
An eye injury to Lakers Anthony Davis that definitely was on the losing side. 117 points to 127 scored by Minnesota Timberwolves there in the early hours of this morning. Time for us to take a break. When we return from a break, something very interesting. Someone has completed the length of Africa in a marathon, ultra marathon race, I must say here. You need to know how they completed the entire length of Africa over a period of time. When we return from a break, beyond that, in football, Rivers United have come to the end of the road in the CAF Confederations Cup. How and what happened in Algiers, we'll let you know when we return from the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. It's Sports Talk here on Atlantic Television Network. I have Mike with me, and together we'll bring you up to speed with the latest happening around the world of sports, especially most of the sports happenings at the weekend. And one biggest sporting event that happened around the world, of course, getting a lot of attraction around the world at the weekend, is an ultra marathoner from the UK, from the British, actually it's British, Ruth Cook, who completed the length of Africa in 352 days. Yes, that's nearly a year of going around the entire length of Africa. Mike, this is something of novelty. Someone could start from South Africa and ended up in Tunisia in 352 days, going around the entire length of Africa, just in a bid to raise money for charity.
I think for me it's quite commendable, quite interesting, and for me I think if there's any athlete who could do that, I thought maybe it was going to be the Ethiopian or a Kenyan and not a British athlete out there, but then he was able to beat the odds and did the unthinkable. I think for me it's very, very massive, and this is to tell you how passionate he is for people out there. You want to give out to the less privileged, you want to give out to people who are disadvantaged, you want to give out to people who are in need rather, and this is the reason why he had to take this tour. I think for me it has been very, very incredible, and he truly deserves some mention. He truly deserves some reckoning out there for what he did. For me, I think it's a good one. Let's hope that we are going to continue in this fine performance, so that it also encourages other athletes in thinking towards this direction. And if we continue to think towards this direction, then we are going to have a better society. We are going to have a better world where one cares for one another, one cares for the less privileged and the needy out there.
Talking about Ruth Cook covering the entire length of Africa in 352 days, that's nearly a year. He started this event on the 22nd of April last year, completing it only yesterday, and that's quite a very big one for the ultra modern runner. There, he was in Nigeria, one of the countries. In fact, he covered more than 20 borders while they're trying to complete the length of Africa. Like I said, he was in Nigeria, and in the process raised $872,000 that will be donated to charity. This is not the first time he's involved in this kind of event. He's a marathoner that has completed 71 marathon so far.
Yeah, I was actually going through his record, his profile out there, because for me, I think I was quite shocked and surprised, and that is why I had to dig deep, go back to his record to see
71 marathons in 66 days?
Yeah, I think for me it was very, very massive. It tells you of a man who truly understands what it means that you want to help, the needy out there. I think he's done an incredible job. Like I said before, I think others can also emulate from his, thought line, and also his philosophy of giving back to the society, especially the needy out there. Let's hope that other young ones as well will be inspired courtesy of this,
run to save, to raise money for charity. That's what Ruth Cook has been doing, and he's raised money for a lot of charities in the past. But this time around, raising nearly $872,000 for more charity events across the world. We say congratulations to Ruth Cook, an ultra marathoner who completed the length of Africa in 352 days. That's quite a big one. Going through a lot, like I mentioned, he was in Nigeria, completed a race from South Africa to Tunisia only yesterday. He was immersed in the Mediterranean Sea, and I said this was really, really cheering and rewarding for him. Let's stay away from that and quickly now go to football. And in football, Mike, the Federations Cup is getting more attention. This year's men and women's Federations Cup completely going into very crucial stages.
Yeah, going to crucial stages, and but then you expected some of the state out there to file in their teams. From what we are seeing and from the report, not all the states fielded in their teams out there. Some of the states fielded one team instead of two and all of that. Some states are complaining about paucity of fund. You know, they talked about the economic hardship and all of that. They were unable to raise money to be able to sponsor their state. But it doesn't take away the fact that, you know, we are having a big heaps activities when you talk about you know, the tournament. I think for me it's a good one because this is the grassroots we are talking about. We can get to see good players out there courtesy of this tournament, and we'll continue to keep you know, an eye on some of these players. This is the way to go, holistic development of football.
Well, football, you know, do I say, being taken to the grassroots, and from the grassroots, I'm sure scouts around, and of course officials of the Football Federation as well, club sites are looking at discovering players that will be participating in this Federations Cup, which, you know, starts from the grassroots going up there. For you to emerge as state champions, you must come from a local government, and from a local government, of course, progressing like that. We have teams across all the 36 states and of course Federal Capital Territory who are expected to at least bring up with at least 2 teams coming up to this one. Still talking football on Sports Talk. The Nigerian Football Federation, we are told, has announced the expulsion of 2 officials that were found wanting at the National League. You do not have to be corrupt to be part of officiating at the National League.
No, you do not. You don't have to be corrupt before you officiate in the National League. And of course, how they are painting the image of the Nigerian Referee Association on a very, very bad light because of that. What actually happened, there was a game and the home team were running out of time. You know, but there was this, you know,
a player who threw the ball into the net with his hand.
A player had to use his 2 hands to throw the ball into the net. I think for me,
he forgot his legs, right?
Yeah, it was the height of you know, rascality. It was the height of you know, embarrassment from the side of the player, and also from the side of referee who spotted that and allowed the goal to stand. I think for me, it's quite embarrassing to say the least, but then I think this punishment is a good one. Let's hope that others is going to learn from it. It's going to serve as a deterrent to other referees out there to, you know, take caution, because the eagle eyes of the monitoring team is also going through and through, keeping their eyes on the ground to spot all these anomalies and also to correct them. The player as well who committed such a, you know, blunder here has been given a 1-year ban. I think for me is the way to go, because if we don't stamp out this kind of corrupt practices within the league or even down to the grassroots, then we are going to allow such corrupt practices to be brought in the main league, and it's going to jeopardize you know, the development of football.
Let's go to the Nigeria Premier League, and we saw action at the weekend. Enyimba International went to Makurdi and came back empty-handed.
Disappointing one for Enyimba, who is fighting for the title. You know, they are going for the jugular against the likes of you know, Enugu Rangers, Lobby Stars, Plateau, to name them. I think for me it's not a good result for them, because we expected them to at least get all the 3 points so as to close in the gap on the league leader. Talking about Rangers, who also dropped points yesterday.
It couldn't be any better for Gombe United. They were walloped 5-0 in Kaduna.
Disappointing one for Gombe, but I think for Kaduna, maybe I want to say it's a revenge from what they got in the hand of you know, Enyimba in a fortnight ago, where they were also whitewashed by 5-0. So I guess they went back to the drawing board and also take a look at the mistakes on what led them conceding 5 goals against Enyimba. They had to hit back against Gombe United. Good one for them.
Well, there's despair in the camp of Gombe United. Heartland FC were joyous because for the first time in 4 matches, they were able to win their opponent in the Nigerian Premier League. Talking about Heartland FC, we talked about their coach, Christian Obi, not doing so well, but at least for now, after 4 games, he's been able to win 1.
Christian Obi with Heartland, I think their case is just a different case altogether. When he lost his match last weekend, he came to the media to tell the whole world that he has exhausted everything that he knows about coaching, and the players. Where
did he get the one he used in beating Sporting Lagos 3-1?
That I don't know, but that was his statement immediately after his loss in last weekend. He came to the media to say that he has exhausted everything that he knows about coaching, and the players are not listening. He was throwing the blames to the players out there, but then looking at Christian Obi and the Heartland for this season so far, I think he has been very, very shambolic. Very poor display from Heartland. They continue to battle in the relegation because despite the win, they are still hovering around the drop zone.
Talking about the team that is in the drop zone, Heartland FC of Owerri definitely need to do more if they must avoid relegation this season. Meanwhile, Insurance of Benin are now draw specialists in the in the Nigeria Premier League here. They went to Ilori and pull out a 1-0 draw with Kwara United.
Yeah. For me, I think they derive joy in drawing than getting all 3 points. That is one thing for Insurance. But then going away to pick a point, I think is a good one. But then they must also follow that up with an impressive performance at home. At least make sure you get all 3 points. After he went away to get a very valuable point. The next game at home, I expect them to get all 3 points so that they continue to push themselves up the ladder.
Sunshine Stars playing in Akure could not get all 3 points because Bayelsa United shared the spoils with them. It ended 1-1 at the end of 90 minutes plus at that time.
Yeah, this is the beauty of the game out there. When you expect home team to get all 3 points, the away team just come and give you a run for your money, fight for the point that is at stake. So for me, I think it's a good one. It's also an improvement, to the league.
If a full of Premier League football in Nigeria, all eyes will be in Kano tonight because the Pillars will take on one of the toughest opponents in the Premier League.
Yeah, definitely one of the toughest opponents in the Nigerian Premier Football League. I think it's going to be a good one, but for there, I think it's always a slaughter ground. Let's hope that they are going to maintain that fear factor at home.
Shooting Stars, another traditional name in Nigerian football, will take on Kano Pillars tonight in Kano. The encounter between Abia Warriors and Rivers United, of course, has been postponed because Rivers United should be on their way coming from Algiers. Talking about Rivers United, reminds me that last night in Algeria, they were in a quarter-final pairing, return leg fixture. If you remember, just about a week ago, they played out a 1-0 victory, slim 1-0 victory over their opponents at the Gossip Aquabio Stadium in Uyo. And that 1-0 looks like their greatest undoing because going to play in Algiers, Rivers United were beaten by 2-0, and meaning that aggregate scoreline is now 2-1, and they have crashed out of the CAF Confederations Cup again at the quarter-final stage of the competition.
A very disappointing one, but then I think I'm not surprised going by the record of Nigerian teams against the North African teams. It's always a very, very big, and a tall mountain for us to climb out there. And the record continues that whenever we square up against North African team, we find it very, very difficult to cope with. But then you will also say that Rivers United, I think they shot themselves on the foot in the first leg because here in Uyo we had a couple of chances to have, gotten 3 or even 4 goals, but then they failed to take their chances when it matters most. And that slim victory, 1 goal, I knew it that it was going to be the end of the road for Rivers United because we had every available opportunity, every available chance to have made it about 3 goals here. And considering the timing that game actually took place, 2 p.m. in the heat of the scorching sun, you expected the USM Algiers to be very tired, and again coupled with the fact that that was the time that they were also fasting. But we couldn't take advantage of that. We just managed to win 1 goal, and 1 goal victory against a North African teams. Going out there, they are going to make the environment very, very hostile for you to play. They also deploy every necessary antics just to ensure that they get the better of you. So for me, I think Rivers United shot themselves on the foot in the first leg for not having gotten a convincing win out there. But then for USM Algiers, they are also the defending champion of this very one. So you don't expect them to bow out so easily. This is the same place where Rivers United actually bowed out last season as well. So I think for me, it is the end of the road. Before now, I said it that this is the end of the road for Rivers United.
Talking about Rivers United last night in an encounter that was played at about 10 p.m. Nigerian time in Algiers, it took 66 minutes before the defending champions, USM Algiers, were able to score their very first goal. So I think they gave a good account of themselves, but like you mentioned, the job should have been done here in Nigeria.
yeah, giving a good account of yourself, and at the tail end of it, you have to lose the game and bow out of the competition. Yeah, I mean, for me, it doesn't mean anything. Rivers United of this season that we've known, they have been very inconsistent, both in the league, both continentally as well. You know how we qualify through to this very one, and I get to take a look at their performance so far this season, both in the league and both continental. I knew that they weren't going very, very fine this very one. Though you will want to say yes, they were able to hold their own until 60-something minutes before, you know, that goal came in, you know, which also served as a dagger in their hearts. But then, for me, whether they were able to hold firm till 90 minutes before conceding very late, the truth remains that they were not good enough, because we had chances to have you know, helped ourselves here at home, but we failed to take the chances. And the USM Orjas, they had to take their own chances at their own home out there. Defending
champions are into the semi-finals, but talking about Rivers United, they crashed out again at the quarter-final stage of the competition. We just hope that they can, you know, come back and maybe learn lessons, because they really have to go past this stage. They had all the support from the River State government and to some little extent the Nigerian Football Federation, but they didn't work out this time around again. They've helped out. Yeah, the only Nigerian team left at the continent. We saw two teams crash out the Champions League. The second team crashed out at the CAF Confederation team. So three teams had crashed out, leaving only Rivers United up to this stage of the competition. CAF, courtesy of performance of Rivers United, will still give Nigeria 4 places ahead of next season continental football.
Yeah, it's a good one, knowing fully well that Rivers United, they were able to fly flag even when other teams expectedly, you know, bowed out so early. But Rivers United still stay strong on the top out there, going this length, you know, to match up with their last season, you know, record as well. It's a good one, but then is that good enough for Nigerian team? I think for me, if you ask me, I would say absolutely no. It is not good enough. Come to look at it, no, even Nigerian team here is going to be part of the Club World Cup, you know, the new edition that is going to be hosted, courtesy of dismal performance over the years. Since last time, you know, any Nigerian club did pretty well here is dated back in 2004-2005 when Enyimba won, you know, the Champions League back-to-back. Since then, Nigerian team will find it very difficult to make a strong statement here in Africa when you talk about the CAF Champions League, you know, and the, you know, lower tier. We seem to find it very difficult. And also, for me, I think it's also a reflection of how our league is organized out here. Because if our league is properly organized, then we're going to see the reflection of that good league out there when you go to the African Champions League. I think for me, it's quite disappointing. I'm not happy for the fact that Rivers United have come this far. I think other clubs here, we need to live up to that billings. We need to live up to the expectation. Nigeria is a giant of Africa. We should awaken that giant in us, in football-wise, so that we tell other countries that indeed we are still a force to be reckoned with. How many years down the line, no Nigerian team has been able to make a strong statement continental? I think for me it's disappointing. Very
disappointing that no Nigerian clubs have been able to win the CAF Confederations Cup since its mutation to the CAF Confederations Cup. Last time we won was at the Cup Winners' Cup level, but since it became a CAF Confederations Cup, we've never won, and this is very, very disturbing. At the Champions League level, after Imba did get the job done just about 3 decades ago, no other team as well has been able to win the CAF Champions League. Well, teams are progressing at the CAF Confederations Cup. Dream FC of Ghana into the next stage of the competition, courtesy of an aggregate scoreline of 3-1 over Stade Malien. Meanwhile, Zamalek as well is into the next stage of the competition, courtesy of a 3-2 aggregate scoreline against Future FC. RSV Bakane of Morocco is into the next round. 3-2 ended against them Abu Salem, and so these are some of the teams that have progressed to the semi-final stage of the CAF Confederations Cup. Meanwhile, there is the Super Falcons encounter against Bayana of South Africa. It's ended 1-0. I hope it's not like what happened between Rivers United and the counterparts, because Bayana is waiting for the team to arrive South Africa in the next few days for return leg fixture in a bid to snatching the only available ticket of the female team going to the Olympic Games for Africa.
Yeah, I think for me, they will be locking horse against a very good team. Talking about the Bayana of South Africa, you saw how they actually troubled us here in Abuja, where they came here for the first leg. I think for me, if not for that first half penalty coming in from the captain of the side, talking about Rashida Ajibade, it should have ended in 0-0, which would have been very bad result for us. But then we were able to get a 1-goal advantage. Going out there in South Africa, we are going to expect a different kettle of fish altogether, because they will be playing at home and they understand the importance of this very one. They will also ensure that they do everything possible. So for me, I'm just wishing them well.
Let's quickly go to the Premier League in England, where Arsenal are back of the top of the league in England, courtesy of a resounding 3-0 win over Brighton FC. This was expected. We saw Bukayo Saka, Kai Havertz, and Leandro Trossard scoring all 3 goals for Arsenal, in the encounter that took place at Brighton. Meanwhile, the match of the week, of the weekend, was the encounter between Liverpool and Manchester United at Old Trafford. For an up-10 time against, I think it was against, what is the team? This team now?
Chelsea.
Not Chelsea. We first saw the Manchester United drop points, from winning position. Brentford, and thereafter we had another one again against Chelsea, and now they have done the same thing against Liverpool FC.
Yeah, I think the inability of Eric Ten Hag to be able to finish game at the dying minute continue to haunt him. We saw that against Wolves, where he actually struggled. They
were leading 2-1 at the stage from a away goal down, and just when the encounter was going to end, it turned out to be 2-2.
It's very embarrassing looking at the game management of Eric Ten Hag so far this season. That is the same thing that happened against Fulham. At the nick of time, they allowed Fulham to come back into the game. You saw that goal from Iwobi. Against Brentford, the same thing happened. They couldn't finish a game. 90 minutes you scored, just within a space of a few minutes at that time.
But talking about not finishing a game, Chelsea did not finish their game against Sheffield United as well. They were leading 2-1, and after 100 minutes, and Sheffield United found a way to equalize at home.
I think Chelsea is another different problem altogether that is also following them. They lack game management as well. So I think between Chelsea and Manchester United, they are very inconsistent so far this season, and that tells where they find themselves on the log out there.
Well, it's Arsenal, Liverpool, and Manchester City in that order in the Premier League in England. We'll be back at 6 p.m. Nigerian time for Sports Extraordinary, when we take a detailed look at all the leagues, top 5 leagues in Europe, and of course the Nigerian Premier League. Talking about the top 5 leagues reminds me that Victor Osimhen is back. He was able to lead his team to a 4-2 win at the weekend. So a lot to talk about in the Bundesliga. Bayern Leverkusen has just 1 match to win, and they will win the league with several games left in the season. So a lot to talk about on our program Sports Extraordinary. Until then, remember, peace and unity are clearly pathways to progress. Always enjoy here on Atlantic Television Network.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, from the Sahara, we bring all the news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economics,